to set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Action!
AKAPAD, we're knee deep, we are heavy, we are swinging hard for Wizard of the Oz. I love these movies. I love this. If you want to call it a collective franchise, it's fascinating. Wizard of Oz hitting public domain and being open for adaptation is, I think, one of the greatest things that happened to creativity and humanity. And welcome back. It's the Film Buff. I'm the Film Buff. Peter A. DeLuca. Where am I at? Philadelphia Center City. Not far from City Hall. It's a building, it's a structure that every time I walk by, I cannot walk by City Hall enough without appreciating everything about it. I'll take different routes so I can walk through it in different ways. There's 4 entrances, 4 ways to walk through City Hall. It's one hell of a monument, and I think today's episode lends itself to that notion. Wizard of Oz. I came to this revelation through pretty much a solid long-form study of books, comic books, adaptations, and even thanks to YouTube, some stage productions of Wizard of Oz. I've experienced the silent movies, right? You guys forget. You may not know. We get so many new audience members throughout the year that it may not be known or easily discoverable that, I do these deep dives, and we've been on a deep dive for Wizard of Oz. These deep dives, they encompass me. I get obsessive. I read. I go through articles. I use the Wayback Machine to even dig up old message boards and blog posts. And recently, I wanted to compare some of After the Wizard to Guillermo del Toro's, I guess we can say Oscar winning, because he's won a few Oscars, but Oscar winning and nominated? I can't believe he was nominated for it. I'll keep saying it. They got to get rid of this 10 film nomination block that the Oscars do. He does a Frankenstein movie with Netflix that it does well on social media. Lots of conversations, lots of back and forth. And it seems a subject matter that's married to the creator, which is Guillermo del Toro and Frankenstein. And you sit down and you watch it. And I've seen it twice. And my second time watching it, I will say I was more in tune to that movie than previously. And the film just kind of loses me. It's not very interesting. The Frankenstein story, the structure of it, it's not very interesting. And so many of you out there you guys will fight tooth and nail. It's not interesting with everything in the Arctic and the ship, and I get the meaning of it. Everything with Frankenstein's wife and the monster, the monster going off on his own and kind of really not really doing anything. I got my criticisms. Now, it doesn't mean that the Frankenstein and Frankenstein monsters, the characters aren't good and can't go into other places and flow into other adaptations. There's something to be said about that Universal Studios black and white Frankenstein, to just how well it got it. 90 minutes. 90 minutes. It can't be over 2 hours. 90 minutes is really what the bandwidth of the human mind can hold for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I still feel the Kenneth Branagh one is the best one. Dracula, really tough to adapt. I would say on the perception level, Dracula far worse than Frankenstein, right? Frankenstein adaptations seem to get a little bit more attention. For example, we have Luc Besson. He has a new Dracula movie. It's not getting as nearly as viral hype as Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. But we have things like Romeo and Juliet that, again, from its complexity and simplicity, is infinitely adaptable. And they're so, it's almost like every version of Romeo and Juliet is good. It's just good. And then we get something like Star Wars, right? Where it's this bigger thing and it's more bad than good. And I'm just being broad here. We can kind of make an argument now too for Star Trek, where Star Trek is more bad than good. And then along the way we'll have like the Visitor TV series, which was really big when I was younger. That gets a sci-fi update around the time of Lost, and you quickly realize like it's tough to adapt, it's tough to update. It's most likely something that best will exist in time. And we get something like Battlestar Galactica that does the same thing that V does, but Battlestar Galactica becomes a real thing. And then you're forced to look at the core concepts of some of these things, even when time stretches on, and there's adaptations. Every single successful adaptation, every single failed adaptation makes you look at the source material. And source material is becoming a little bit of an overused buzzword. But in this case, it applies and it doesn't apply at the same time. So my study of everything Wizard of Oz has revealed one thing, and I've said this before, that the Wizard of Oz, the world of it, even that first book, it's the greatest work of fiction because the adaptations of it are not only broad, they're entertaining and they're watchable. The MGM musical, Judy Garland, Ruby Slippers, it added to it, it defined it, but now we're coming out of that. Hugh Gross, after The Wizard, 2011. Hugh here, and I believe he's a stage guy. I believe this is his only movie. But Hugh, and sometimes when you watch movies like this, you see the index cards. You see the index cards on the table, on the wall. What are the core concepts? Make a list. Who are the characters? Make a list. What's everyone trying to do? Make a list. And you see it laid out. You see it almost like a grid. And when it comes to filmmaking, when you can visualize the storytelling grid in real time, that means that the production and the director have done their job. And if you can see it, they've done a really good job. There's been a generation of film criticism that they'll tell you that things are formulaic. They will tell you things are tropes. They will talk about these things as derogatory. They will tell you about these things as bad and unimaginative, and they don't desire creativity. It's somewhat of the same every once in a while, like just on Facebook. You'll see these, and I guess on Instagram, but you'll see these articles circulate where the beats of a pop song is a formula, and it might be like a graph of like 5 pop songs. 1 or 2 by Taylor Swift. You have a Britney Spears in there, Michael Jackson. And it'll be like, at these points in the songs, this is where there's like the hook or a chorus. This is and the conclusion is, this is the formula of the pop song. And I think when it comes to music, I mean, it is undeniable sometimes. And you say to yourself, wow. But then you gotta let that gray matter twerk a little, you got to let some of that critical thinking through that gray matter, and you have to ask yourself, well, everyone can do this then. So why doesn't everyone do this? And then and then we get into the minutia of it, which is everyone can't and everyone won't, and it's hard to do. It's really hard to do. Hugh here, we have scenes that I think for the bad film goer, and I talk about how you have to be in a good frame and a good audience member when you watch films like this. These are independent movies. We have sidewalks that we shoot on. We have, in this case, yellow grass in the background. If this was a Hollywood production or a big budget movie, that grass would be bright green. It would you would have the cinematographer looking at what grass is being selected so he knows how to light it. But here we shoot outside. Here we shoot in the back of a car. Here we get our two actors, because this is mostly a request of Tin Man and Scarecrow to track down Dorothy. And once they track down Dorothy, they have to track down Toto. They have to go back to Oz because Oz is upside down. This is a great intro in how we make a sequel to Wizard of Oz, where when Dorothy leaves, Oz really turns to turmoil. And Dorothy and her balance, and their speeches about this, and they talk about her balance and her leadership can fix Oz. And then Dorothy, not in any of the originals, and if you want to say the MGM original or whatever, Dorothy is not a Christ-like character. She later becomes a Christ-like character, and I say that with absolute respect. With this movie, we not only get a solid follow-up, a solid sequel to just the simple questions: what happens after the Wizard of Oz? This is why it's called After the Wizard. We get a step towards what happens next. We get a middle movie. You can even call this a 0.5 adventure. The individuals in this movie, and I wish I could nail it a little bit better. Orion Richmond, Jamil Nakia, Helen Richmond. I think Helen Richmond got a local award, or where the festival that this premiered at, she I think received like best new young actress, or best new talent. Lauren Lester, Peter Mark Richmond. I'm just reading some of the list here off of Wikipedia. So Hugh Gross makes a journey movie with, let's just call it, it's a zero budget movie. I'm sure they spent money, but it's a zero budget movie. And this occurred to me. There's this one scene where the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, and I love the real world or stage level interpretations of these two characters in this movie. They're in the back of a car, getting driven around, getting dropped off, and they're in a city sidewalk, a city street, and there's other things happening in the background, and we're shooting the movie, we're making the movie. And I realize this is a little bit of the break, a little bit of the divide of filmmaking like this, where the jaded audience that has been corrupted and broken by the internet will look at this and they will laugh. And if they do laugh, if you know someone that would or someone that does at films like this, it's hard to trust their opinion, and it's hard to move forward, because if this was a stage play, if we were watching this live, there's all kinds of things that wouldn't add up, that wouldn't make sense visually. There would be things that are distracting because it's all live. It's just what's in front of our eyes. Even when you see these things on stage, your seat is critical. Your seat's critical. You can have a bad seat, it could distract you the whole time. But what you do is you learn to erase the noise and hyper focus on the lights on the stage. That's why everything's dark, so you can see the stage. And if you can't do that at home, watching a stage play on film, and I want to say that this is the position we need for films like this. We have to treat them like stage plays. We have to watch them with the respect of a stage play. And when things visually don't quite add up, we can be adults and just say, oh, but I'm following the story. I'm following the plot. There's a resolution coming here. Will they get to it? And in this, I mean, I love the fish out of the water aspect of Scarecrow and Tin Man, where they learn about money, and I get it, like some of it little repetitive, but it's funny. It's a little bit of a chuckle every time some of this stuff comes up. When they have to adopt or find Toto, and they learn what what like a dog orphanage is, or any of that stuff. When they go to the kids that are in the cage in public school, and the kids explain to them what states are and what trains are, and how you go from point A to point B, and it's not just a hot air balloon that takes you to a magical place. It's a fun, interesting formula. It's a fun way to do a Wizard of Oz story with the resources that you have. I will say this. My only disappointment was I thought at the end of this movie, because there's a tornado scene in this movie, aka Padders, I thought we were going to get a somewhat of a Emerald City money shot and Yellow Brick Road money shot at the end. That didn't happen. I'm not holding it against you, because I was satisfied with the story by the end. This movie, for the resources that Hugh has or had at the time, shows you how good of a vision, like how much of a visionary Hugh is. He's a good director that gives you the beats of what we expect from an Oz tale. There's a hunt or a quest. This is Wizard of Oz. There's a tornado. There's the allegory of my fantasy and the real world and the crossover. It all goes back to MGM, where when we realize that the farmhands around Dorothy and her relatives are the characters within Oz, there's a little bit of a question. Did Dorothy imagine it? Is it real? Is she crazy? What we get here as well. There's all of these beats, and this is what I'm talking about, being able to see the grid of the story, where Hugh wrote down the beats of what we love about the MGM movie. Not just what we love, what makes it great. And he says, I will do it. And I think the modern day audience will call those member berries, or they'll call them callbacks or Easter eggs, and they're not. It's storytelling. It's storytelling at its finest. I'm proud to bring you guys movies like this. After the Wizard, 2011 is available right now on Tubi. Here's what I think you guys should do. Watch the MGM original. Watch this movie. Watch a sequel. And if you feel like it, get into Wicked and see what's done there with those same tropes. And sit down and ask yourself, Hugh's solutions, in my view, make as much sense as anything you see in Wicked. Isn't that amazing? And that's film buffery. That's being a good audience member. All right, AKAPADers, TGIF2. It's Friday. I love you guys. Rock and roll.
Okay, that's a wrap.